The security camera footage showed everything: Emma's ex-husband lurking in the parking garage, the knife glinting under fluorescent lights, and then Marcus Blackwood, CEO of Horizon Industries, stepping between them at the last possible moment. What happened next would change both their lives forever, but was this really the end of Emma's nightmare? If you're moved by this story of courage, second chances, and unexpected connection, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more powerful human stories that remind us of the extraordinary moments hiding in ordinary lives. Emma Chen clutched her worn purse to her chest as she hurried across the parking garage, her footsteps echoing in the concrete space. The night shift at the diner had been brutal: 12 hours on her feet, a spilled milkshake on her uniform, and tips that barely covered tomorrow's bus fare. But she couldn't afford to quit. Not with rent due in 3 days and Lily's asthma medication to pay for. The familiar dread crawled up her spine before she even heard his voice. "You really thought you could hide from me forever?" David stepped out from behind a concrete pillar, his face twisted with the same rage she'd fled 18 months ago. The restraining order she'd fought so hard for was just paper. Paper couldn't stop the 6'2" ex-military man who'd promised to find her no matter where she ran. "Please, David. I'm just trying to live my life," Emma whispered, backing away slowly, her hand fumbling for her phone. "Our life," he corrected, his voice eerily calm as he pulled something from his jacket pocket. The overhead light caught the blade of a hunting knife. "You don't get to decide it's over, Emma. I told you that." Emma's back hit a car. There was nowhere left to retreat. Her thoughts flashed to Lily, sleeping at the neighbor's apartment, waiting for a mother who might never come home. "Hey! Is everything all right over there?" The deep voice cut through the tension like a thunderclap. A tall figure in an expensive suit approached from the elevator bank, briefcase in hand. David's eyes narrowed. "Mind your own business, suit." The man, broad-shouldered with salt and pepper hair at his temples despite looking only in his early 40s, set down his briefcase deliberately. "I believe the lady seems uncomfortable. That makes it my business." Emma recognized him then: Marcus Blackwood, CEO of Horizon Industries, whose regional headquarters occupied the top floors of the building adjacent to the diner where she worked. She'd served him coffee twice, never imagining their paths would cross like this. "Marcus Blackwood," he confirmed, standing his ground. "And you are?" "Leaving," David spat, but his grip on the knife tightened. "After I finish what I came for." What happened next unfolded in terrifying slow motion. David lunged toward Emma, knife extended. Marcus moved with surprising speed for a corporate executive, positioning himself between them. There was a struggle, a grunt of pain, and then security guards were rushing in, alerted by the commotion. When the chaos cleared, David was in handcuffs, Marcus was pressing his hand to a bleeding cut on his forearm, and Emma was shaking uncontrollably, tears streaming down her face. "You're safe now," Marcus told her, his voice steady despite the blood seeping between his fingers. "He won't hurt you again." Emma didn't know then how those words would change everything. The hospital waiting room was cold, or maybe it was just shock setting in. Emma sat with her hands wrapped around a paper cup of untouched coffee, staring at the institutional beige walls. The police had taken her statement, photographed the bruises forming on her arms where David had grabbed her, and promised to keep him in custody this time. She didn't believe them. She'd heard those promises before. "Miss Chen?" She looked up to see Marcus Blackwood approaching, his injured arm now properly bandaged, his ruined suit jacket replaced with a hospital scrub top. He should have looked ridiculous, a powerful CEO in dress pants and medical scrubs, but somehow he maintained his dignity. "Mr. Blackwood. I don't know how to thank you," Emma began, rising to her feet. He waved away her thanks with his uninjured arm. "Please, call me Marcus. And there's no need for thanks. I only did what anyone would do." But they both knew that wasn't true. Most people would have walked away, pretended not to see, called security perhaps, but kept their distance. They wouldn't have put themselves between a desperate woman and a knife-wielding attacker. "I need to get home," Emma said suddenly, remembering Lily. "My daughter." "Of course. My driver can take you." "That's not necessary." "Please," Marcus insisted gently. "It's nearly 3 a.m. Let me at least ensure you get home safely." Too exhausted to argue, Emma nodded. As they walked toward the exit, Marcus asked, "Will you be safe at home?" "Your ex, he knows where you live." Emma's silence was answer enough. "I have connections with a women's shelter with excellent security," Marcus offered. "They could take you and your daughter tonight." Emma stopped walking. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know me." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "6 years ago, my sister was killed by her husband after multiple attempts to leave him. The system failed her at every turn." His eyes, a deep brown that reminded Emma of coffee grounds, held a pain that time hadn't diminished. "I couldn't help her then. But I can help you now." In that moment, standing in the harsh fluorescent light of the hospital corridor, Emma made a decision that would alter the course of her life and her daughter's. She accepted his help. The women's shelter was nothing like Emma had imagined. Located in a renovated boutique hotel, it offered private rooms with security features that would make a prison warden envious. Facial recognition entry systems, panic buttons in every room, and staff trained in both trauma support and self-defense. Horizon Industries funds 3 of these facilities, Marcus explained as the director, a no-nonsense woman named Vivian, showed them around. "My sister's foundation oversees them." "The Sophia Blackwood Foundation," Emma murmured, recognition dawning. She'd seen the name on charity drives and fundraising galas covered in the local news. For the first time that night, Marcus smiled, a small, sad thing that transformed his serious face. "You've heard of it?" "Everyone has," Emma replied. "I just never connected it to you." Lily adapted to their temporary home with the resilience only a 7-year-old could muster, especially when she discovered the shelter had a small library and a therapy dog named Buttercup who visited 3 times a week. Emma found herself breathing easier than she had in years, knowing that the security system would prevent David from finding them even if he made bail. Which, as it turned out, he didn't. The assault charges, combined with the violation of the restraining order and his prior record, kept him in custody awaiting trial. The prosecutor, a fierce woman who specialized in domestic violence cases, assured Emma that he was facing significant prison time. "We have the security footage from the parking garage," she explained during their meeting. "And Mr. Blackwood's testimony will be compelling. He's well respected in this community." Emma nodded, but the knot of fear in her stomach remained. She'd believed in the system before, only to have it fail her repeatedly. 2 weeks after the incident, Marcus invited Emma to coffee. They met at a small cafe 3 blocks from the shelter, neutral territory that felt safe. "How are you settling in?" he asked after they'd ordered, an Americano for him, chai latte for her. "Better than I expected," Emma admitted. "Lily loves it there. She's made friends with another little girl her age." Marcus nodded, turning his coffee cup in his hands. He had elegant hands, Emma noticed, with a small scar across the right knuckles. Hands that had stopped a knife meant for her. "I have a proposition for you," he said finally. "Horizon has an opening in our community outreach department. The hours are regular, 9 to 5, with benefits that include health insurance and childcare assistance." Emma stared at him. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you an opportunity," Marcus corrected. "You'd need to interview with the department head, of course. I don't micromanage my hiring managers. But your experience in customer service is relevant, and your perspective as someone who has navigated social services would be invaluable." "I don't have a degree," Emma said, the words bitter on her tongue. She'd been 3 semesters into her social work program when she'd met David, who had gradually convinced her to drop out. "The position doesn't require one. It does require empathy," organization, and determination, all qualities you clearly possess. Marcus leaned forward slightly. This isn't charity, Emma. It's practical. We need someone, and you need a job that will support you and Lily better than the diner. Emma wrapped her hands around her mug, feeling the warmth seep into her perpetually cold fingers. Why are you really doing this? Marcus didn't look away from her direct gaze. Because I couldn't save Sophia. Because every time I see a woman trapped in a situation like yours, I see my sister. And because you deserve a chance to rebuild without looking over your shoulder every minute. His honesty disarmed her. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. Emma took the job. The interview with Diane Mercer, the outreach director, was intimidating but fair. When Diane offered her the position at the end of their meeting, Emma had to fight back tears. Thank you for this opportunity, she managed to say. Diane, a brisk woman in her 50s with a silver pixie cut, smiled warmly. Thank yourself. Your experiences give you insights our team needs. Just be prepared, this work can be emotionally demanding. Emma almost laughed. After what she'd been through, emotional demands seemed manageable. Her first month at Horizon passed in a blur of training sessions, new faces, and adjusting to an office environment that didn't involve carrying plates or dodging handsy customers. Lily thrived in the company's subsidized childcare program, coming home each day with art projects and stories about her new friends. Emma saw Marcus occasionally in the elevator or the company cafeteria. He always greeted her warmly but professionally, never drawing attention to their unusual connection or making her feel like she owed him anything. It was a courtesy she deeply appreciated. David's trial was scheduled, then delayed, then rescheduled. Emma met with the prosecutor regularly, steeling herself for the moment she would have to face him in court. The thought made her physically ill, but she refused to let him win through intimidation. You don't have to do this alone, Vivian told her during one of their weekly check-ins at the shelter, where Emma and Lily still lived while saving for their own apartment. The foundation can arrange for a support person to accompany you. I'll be fine, Emma insisted, though they both knew it was a lie. The night before the trial, Emma couldn't sleep. She paced the small room she shared with Lily, watching her daughter's peaceful breathing and envying her untroubled dreams. At 2 a.m., she slipped out to the shelter's communal kitchen for tea. She was surprised to find Marcus there, dressed casually in jeans and a Henley, stirring honey into a steaming mug. Couldn't sleep either, he asked, not seeming at all surprised to see her. Emma shook her head. Pre-trial jitters. Understandable. He gestured to the kettle. Tea? They sat at the kitchen island, the facility quiet around them. Emma noticed the dark circles under Marcus's eyes, the slight slump of his shoulders. Why are you here so late? She asked. Board meeting ran long, then I had some foundation paperwork to review. He rubbed his eyes. I keep an apartment upstairs for nights like these. Emma raised her eyebrows. You live here sometimes? The top floor was originally designed as the owner's penthouse when this was a hotel. I converted it into emergency housing and a small apartment for myself. He smiled faintly. It helps me stay connected to the work. They sipped their tea in comfortable silence for a few minutes before Marcus spoke again. I'll be there tomorrow. At the trial. Emma looked up sharply. You don't have to. I'm a witness, he reminded her gently. But even if I weren't, I'd be there. If you want me to be. The simple offer of support brought unexpected tears to Emma's eyes. She blinked them away quickly. I'd like that. The courtroom was smaller than Emma had imagined, the wooden benches worn smooth by years of anxious witnesses and concerned family members. She sat rigidly beside the prosecutor, focusing on her breathing the way her shelter counselor had taught her. When David was brought in, handcuffed and wearing an ill-fitting suit, she forced herself not to flinch. He looked thinner, angrier, his eyes immediately seeking her out with an intensity that made her stomach clench. Marcus sat directly behind her, a solid, reassuring presence. He had testified earlier that morning, his account clear and unembellished. The security footage had been even more damning, showing David lying in wait, the knife, the clear intent to harm. Now it was Emma's turn. As she took the stand and swore to tell the truth, she caught David's eye. For the first time since she'd met him 8 years ago, she didn't look away first. Something had shifted inside her, a realization that his power over her existed only if she allowed it. Her testimony was steady, her voice gaining strength as she recounted not just that night in the parking garage, but the years of escalating abuse that had preceded it. The prosecutor guided her through the evidence methodically: hospital records, police reports, the restraining order David had violated repeatedly. During cross-examination, David's lawyer tried to paint her as unstable, vindictive, a woman scorned making false accusations. Emma remained calm, answering truthfully even when the questions became invasive. "And isn't it true that you've recently begun working for Mr. Blackwood's company?" the defense attorney asked, his implication clear. "I work in the community outreach department at Horizon Industries," Emma confirmed. "I interviewed for the position and was hired based on my qualifications." "After Mr. Blackwood intervened in this alleged altercation?" "After your client attempted to stab me in a parking garage," Emma corrected, her gaze unwavering. "An event captured entirely on security cameras." A murmur ran through the courtroom. The defense attorney retreated, recognizing he'd miscalculated. When the verdict came 3 days later, guilty on all counts, with a sentence of 12 years, Emma felt no triumph, only a profound relief that left her lightheaded. Marcus stood beside her as they left the courthouse, fielding questions from reporters with practiced ease while shielding her from the worst of their intrusion. "It's really over," Emma whispered as they reached his car. Marcus opened the door for her. "This chapter is," he agreed. "But your story is just beginning." 6 months later, Emma and Lily moved into their own apartment, a modest 2-bedroom in a secure building not far from Horizon's offices. Emma had been promoted to project coordinator, overseeing initiatives that helped domestic violence survivors rebuild their lives through employment opportunities and housing assistance. The work was challenging but fulfilling, allowing her to transform her trauma into purpose. Lily had started 2nd grade at a good school, her asthma managed with the excellent health insurance Emma now had, her nightmares about David gradually fading. Emma and Marcus had developed a friendship that defied easy categorization. He respected her independence fiercely, never overstepping or assuming she needed rescuing. She appreciated his insight and quiet strength, the way he listened more than he spoke. They occasionally had lunch together in the company cafeteria, discussing foundation projects or Lily's latest art masterpiece. Sometimes he asked her opinion on initiatives Horizon was considering, valuing her perspective as someone who had navigated the system from the inside. On the anniversary of the parking garage incident, Marcus invited Emma to dinner at a small Italian restaurant tucked away from the city's busier streets. "To celebrate your year of freedom," he explained when she hesitated. Emma agreed, arranging for Lily to have a sleepover with her best friend from school. She wore a simple blue dress she'd bought with her first Horizon paycheck, her hair loose around her shoulders instead of in its usual practical bun. Marcus was waiting at the table when she arrived, standing as she approached. "You look lovely," he said simply. "Thank you." Emma settled into her chair, noticing he'd chosen a table that allowed her to sit with her back to the wall, facing the entrance, a small consideration that spoke volumes about his understanding of her lingering hypervigilance. They ordered wine and pasta, their conversation flowing easily between topics. Emma found herself laughing more than she had in years, relaxing into the evening in a way that would have seemed impossible 12 months ago. "I have something for you," Marcus said as they finished their tiramisu. He placed a small envelope on the table between them. Emma opened it curiously, finding a certificate inside. "What's this?" "The Sophia Blackwood Foundation is establishing a scholarship program for survivors of domestic violence pursuing higher education," Marcus explained. "You're looking at the first recipient. If you choose to accept it, of course. Emma stared at the certificate, her vision blurring with tears. I don't understand. You mentioned once that you were 3 semesters into a social work degree, Marcus said quietly. This would cover tuition, books, and provide a stipend for childcare during evening classes. You could finish what you started. Emma's hand trembled as she set the certificate down. I can't accept this. You can, Marcus countered gently. The scholarship committee selected you based on your application and essay. I recused myself from the voting. You knew I was applying? Diane mentioned you'd requested information. The rest you did on your own. Emma took a deep breath, emotions warring within her. I don't want to be your charity case, Marcus. Is that what you think this is? He leaned forward, his expression serious. Emma, you've rebuilt your life through your own strength and determination. You've turned your experience into a force for good, helping others navigate what you endured. This scholarship isn't charity, it's an investment in someone who will make a difference. The sincerity in his eyes made her throat tight. I don't know what to say. Say you'll consider it, Marcus suggested. That's all. As they left the restaurant, walking slowly in the cool evening air, Emma found herself at a crossroads she hadn't anticipated. The year had transformed her from a frightened woman running from her past into someone with a future she was actively building. And Marcus had been there, not as a savior but as a catalyst, offering opportunities rather than solutions. I've been thinking about something, Emma said as they reached her building. The night in the parking garage, you could have called security instead of intervening personally. Marcus was quiet for a moment. I could have. Why didn't you? Because sometimes seconds matter, he answered simply. And because I've spent too much of my life watching from a distance. Emma studied his face in the soft glow of the streetlight. Thank you. Not just for that night, but for everything after. For seeing me as someone worth believing in. You always were, Marcus said. You just needed to remember it yourself. Standing there, Emma realized that while one chapter of her life had indeed ended, another was unfolding, one where fear no longer dictated her choices, where possibilities stretched before her like an open road. And perhaps, if she was brave enough to take another chance, Marcus might walk that road with her, not as her rescuer but as her equal. Would you like to come up for coffee? She asked, surprising herself with the invitation. Marcus smiled, the warmth reaching his eyes. I'd like that very much. As they entered the building together, Emma felt something she hadn't experienced in years, not just safety or relief, but genuine hope for what tomorrow might bring. Her ex was behind bars, but more importantly, the woman who had lived in constant fear was gone too, replaced by someone stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace whatever came next. This wasn't really the end. It was just the beginning. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing these powerful stories of resilience, second chances, and the unexpected connections that remind us all of our shared humanity. Leave a comment below about what moved you most. Was it Emma's courage, Marcus's compassion, or the journey they began together? We'd love to hear your thoughts.